All right, there you go. What is one of the biggest challenges you are facing in terms of customer service on your campus? So I think we all have those challenges. Especially now that we have students that are more relying on, not face-to-face conversations, they're relying on social media, emails. So what are some of yours?
I require simple knowledge and missions. I'm trying to figure out exactly, especially with high school students, how they're gonna respond, whether that's a text message or, I know they don't read email. So just trying to figure out what they want, so we can have that communication.
Yes, we do that as well.
I want to piggyback on that a little bit. I think making our emails mean something is what's important, because we, you know, everybody at every department in our college, we all want to send emails to students, and we bombard them so much, and we're all guilty of it too. How many of you have been students or are students and do student things with your emails and just guilty? But making that worthwhile, but then also like, we want to provide customer service all of the time and be responsive, but we are limited in resources. So a big thing that I want to learn more about is like our live chats and chat bots, and how we can integrate a lot of AI into things to kind of get those tier one or those basic questions to students and get the information. Also our website, so.
Is anybody using chatbot and having a lot of success with it?
We do. We have a Insights, it's a retention AI texting bot, and then we also they have a bot that just goes on the actual website. And yeah, I mean, it's pricey, but it's great, like on the retention side, and then the chatbot side too, it's all one knowledge base. So you could just be like, how do I apply for admissions, or where's the cafeteria? So it's reactive, but then on the retention side, it's proactive, and it does those nudges throughout the semester. You just put a messaging campaign and then worked with Christy's department on mental health, and then ask them like, you know, how's your mental health right now? Is it neutral? Is it poor? And then we collect data, and then our counselors are actually reaching out to those students that said our mental health is neutral or poor. That was what, like 170 students that texted back saying they needed extra support in those areas. So at the time they text, it'll automatically give them resources, but then we do that proactive outreach as well. But yeah, we're loving it, and we are fingers crossed it's gonna stay in the budget. And we did a capital project request, so we've had it for almost 2 years. But yeah, it's called Insights, based out of New York.
Make sure you say your name and your institution if you say something, like you drop like a knowledge bomb like that, so that people can know who to reach out to. Okay.
Anybody else?
I struggle sometimes with making sure that we're following our processes and our policies, and then also being student first, because sometimes those are barriers to students being successful and not necessarily helpful. So where do you balance those two?
I know you guys probably have the same issue we do. Students don't want to read emails. They'll read a text.
They won't respond sometimes, but they might read it.
Right.
At least.
Yeah, so it's how do you, one thing in my mind is, how do you start using text, but yet stay within compliance with your FERPA issues as well, so.
Then with text, you run into, they change their phone number every week.
Or it's mom's phone number, it's not even their phone number, or it's their ex-boyfriend's phone number.
The lady yesterday or the other day told me that she was, that her niece was applying, but she was gonna put her phone number on her niece's application.
Yes, always, so. In our
I think
texting, it's very vague, and I'm always like, if you have more questions, you can call me, or whatever, because I can't get used to be a text message.
Yeah. I can kind of comment to some of that. I do a lot of our communication planning. I'm Stephanie, I work at East Central, and Sarah quoted me saying timely, targeted and trackable, because all communication needs to be. I actually am debating registering for trademarks for that. But I think the important thing is, like you said here at the end of the table, I'm sorry, it's gotta be important to them, so it's gotta be targeted, right? And it's gotta come at the right time, right? So it's timely. But also it needs to be I'm sorry, I'm a mom of two college kids, it needs to be visually appealing to them. You can really only do that by email, so what I do is I call it the text email two punch. You send them the email and then you send them a text and say, I have important information for you, check your email.
That's what I do.
I do that. Now, my son, when he opens up his email, I about vomit because he's got 500 unread emails at any given time. And I'm sure most of them are from me. But I think you also have to make sure that it's the right thing for them. I was in a conversation with one of our vendors, and she said at a previous institution that she had worked for, they did a year audit of all of their emails that they sent to students. And the number, do you remember, Sarah?
Thousands.
That's a staggering amount of emails. And so they made all communications that were going to more than just one individual student go through a particular process. Because they don't want our students to think, oh, I got another email from East Central, I'm just gonna ignore it, you know. So it's just things to think about. That's kind of been my world for 5 years. So I don't have all the answers, obviously, it doesn't look like fun, so. But definitely timely, targeted, and trackable is important.
I think that's important too, because if you've got different departments that are sending emails, so if I send an email out of registrar's office one day, and admission sends an email the same day, financial aid sends one, they're not gonna read 3 emails the same day.
No.
So, yes,
I'm Chief Overnight at St. Louis Community College. I think what I find on the front line is our staff, whether it's because of their busyness or because of just their own lives or whatever, they get stuck in the student being the problem. You submitted the wrong form, you didn't fill it out right, you got it to the wrong person. And so they're just really short to say, hey, you should have done it better. And it's really trying to coach them to say, that's a great question, but I'm not the right person to ask, but I can help you. Like, it's that whole sense of, you have found the right person and I can assist you. But most of the time, when things escalate to me, they have been bounced around and the consistent message is, I've done something wrong, I am less than, and it's like, that form is on our website, I'm like, if you know how to find it. But I just think we really need to refocus our frontline staff doing customer service about being a student ready place, not expecting the student to know the right answer
Yeah.
before they ask us for it.
I think that also, same thing, is just finishing, the student doesn't know what question to ask. They don't know what to ask, so we just have to kind of start over from the beginning, what they do know, start somewhere at that center of what they know they've applied, period. That's about all they know, and then from there, what is it? And so walking them through that process from the beginning does take time. However, coming to that common ground of where we can all be together and walking them through when they leave, they understand what they've done and that you can be on the same page with them. And that they know what their next action step is as they leave it and that they're comfortable with that. And that's important to them. And they don't know what to ask. They don't know. They have no clue.
They don't know what to ask and they don't know who to ask.
So whoever they ask should be able to find the answer much quicker, much faster on the website. We know where they are, they don't. So we need to be those folks to help them.
I'll pile on to that one and say, I think it's about, like what you were saying, Sarah, about being student ready. It's not the student's fault. Because we tend to do that. We do that on all sides, like on the academic affairs side, you know, they're not prepared, it's their fault, instead of meeting them where they are. And we do it in student affairs as well, and we do it by having them bounce around. So when a student shows up, we need to own that problem. I don't care what department it is. I mean, so I oversee student affairs, and even among my departments in student affairs, it's like, no, it's admissions, no, it's advising, no, it's this, no, and it's like, who cares? The student only knows St. Louis Community College or, you know, ECC or whatever, they don't know departments, and so we have to own, so that's a struggle. You know, to get people, wherever the student shows up, if you run into them in the parking lot. You own that problem and help them navigate the facilitator.
I wanna jump in on that too. I can't do this all the time, but whenever I have opportunity, if the student needs to know where something or someone is or an office, if I can walk them over to that office, I think that means a lot. Not only that, it gives me a chance to converse with them while we're walking over, especially if there's a parent.
Right.
So they'll know where that office is too.
I'm gonna jump in on that again too. So, yeah, I've talked a lot. I'm Heather King from Three Rivers. Our student ambassadors work primarily in our welcome center, which is where our advising center is, in the same hallway as our financial aid and all of our other, student services. So I train our ambassadors, they're mini recruiters, mini advisors, basically. But they go through some of the same training as we do, so they learn what everything's called, what office does what. So they can help those students that call, that come in, walk them through the steps, so we're not like third door on the left. They actually take them, talk to them, give them their student stories as they're going to these different places too, and I think that has helped us a lot. Making our students feel more included in everything, because other students are also helping them through this process.
And to add to that, I'm at the Kennett campus of Three Rivers, so I can't physically walk them to financial aid. I am admission, I am recruiting, I am advising, I am financial aid. So when I register a student, more so for their first semester, I give them what I call the cheat sheet. It has their email, it has their login, but then it also has, have they filed their FAFSA? Have they turned in their high school transcript? Are they on verification? And I type out exactly what document they are needing to turn down, so they're not going, well, I'm on verification, but I don't know what that means. And so that way they know exactly what documents they need, and I show them exactly where to find it on the list.
Kathy's been trying to.
Oh, well, no, and I don't really have a question. I was actually gonna put OTC on the spot for a second. Because, well, when I went to MassDOT, they had talked about, the program that you guys were going into, you called the student service model. So all of this, do you find that model has helped with your communication with your students, because you guys are a one entity, of a one stop?
Yeah, I'm from OTC as a navigator, and I think that listening to you guys all the talk about ownership of the problem, pathway between registration and admission, financial aid, different things like that. And also when we were talking about having students having to retell their story for each person that they're talking to, we really answered that problem, I feel like, with student success, because they have an navigator, they have an admissions counselor, who owns the problem. Because that student is assigned to that navigator. It's my name next to theirs. I'm their problem solver. So I think it's been a beautiful solution. I think maybe the other half of that we're still working through is that that's a very time consuming relationship. And if a student has one navigator, that's one person on the line for a lot of students, and they're not always available.
Because we do siloing. So really one student will work with just really two people, the admissions counselor and one. Again, we work with each other as much as we can to support each other for that student. What's your caseload?
Well, that's a tricky. It's very tricky, because a lot of our caseload is looked at by active students. And defining what an active student is tricky.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out a lot of that out. Danny Gutierrez, OTC. So a big part of that is our CRM, which is not, I mean, we just launched our new application and a lot of that would eliminate students having to tell their story, multiple different spots. It's not perfect. We're still we're getting ready to start pouring back into the retention and all that side as we learned a lot more through the navigators and hey, this process doesn't work the way it does, or this doesn't work, or this does work, and kind of diving deeper into that. We try to keep caseloads around 250 to 300-ish as far as active goes, but that's also, we're trying to figure out how that works. And the best information we're getting are from our navigators and our admissions counselors and everybody who's in the trenches, I like to call it, working with students and all of that. So another big thing that we did was move student account services to student affairs. So we're eliminating having to send students what we call the Eagle Shuffle. They go upstairs and talk to them, they'd send us back downstairs. And so we asked our navigators and admissions counselors to be able, we have different tiers of support. I think it's a good way to put it. Because when you say, hey, you're handling financial aid, everyone sees stuff, you know, oh, no, we're gonna have something calculating R224. No, we're not actually gonna do that. We're gonna leave that to the pros, but I do expect you to know what a FAFSA is. I do expect you to know how to help a student through verification. And we switched to campus logic software. If you all haven't had that, if you're in Aleutian College, it got bought up by Aleutian, so it's now part of that. So talk to your IT team, whoever. It turned all of our paper forms that we were using for verification, where we had the issue of like, well, you didn't fill in this blank spot and it's 0, and you left it blank, it's incomplete by the eyes of the government, right? So we eliminated all of those kind of silly barriers that students were having to be like, well, this is incomplete, shove it back to the student to get complete. It says, if you need to fill this line, you put it in there, and it also pre-populates things for you too. So that's been really helpful, although verification hasn't happened for a while, but you can use it for other forms as well. And we pre-populate those things in the students' portal that says, hey, you need to do these exact forms, no searching on the website for it and all of that. So, but it's not perfect by any means. And I think the team would say that too, and that's okay. Like, we're still working towards that and what that takes, and it takes a lot of resources.
And I will say, with our new app, we have an application portal now so that they can go in and they can see, hey, your application's being processed, here's the specific recruiter you reach out to, email, phone number, who they are. Hey, you're admitted, here's your admissions counselor, email, phone number, Calendly link so that you can schedule your meeting with them. And then, once they get their navigator assigned, their information updates and populates into the navigator's information then, so they always have as a direct place of where I go, what do I look for? I think it has helped a lot with communicating with students. I think one thing that we're still also working on is, we do have like, a call center and, making sure that they have information on like specific processing and also etiquette. We've done etiquette training with them on like how to communicate with students, what are you needing? Where does the student go, and just making sure they stay up to date as well, because processes change sometimes, so making sure they have that updated information as well.
Do you guys provide any customer service training to your faculty and staff?
Well, I will say in more recent years, we've done some professional development training with our frontline, de-escalation training. So our police department will come in and give some scenarios and kind of tell us how to work through things if, we do find students that, are maybe not having the best of days and we may need to assist in kind of calming them down. Respond, so Christine's, area, it's like a mental health first aid training, that's more geared towards higher ed. We do that as well. So kind of in more recent years, we are asking for feedback and then we are providing that. And we're getting buy-in more now on the faculty side. We can only control student services, but if you have buy-in from instruction, so I don't know, vote me if I'm wrong or not, Christine, but is that something faculty are gonna go through at LPD?
Next year, yep, next year. So we got buy-in for all of our faculty to go through our respond mental health first aid type training.
I think that's a great idea.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I just, from MCCA, but was our second community college, and I thought we're gonna show up here, but yeah, we do this every Thursday, we have training, equity one, our admissions counselors have here, so we meet with sometimes with faculty. Or some of the trainings that we do things that are going on in student success. It's always ongoing, so we're all coming from the same page, and we're all informed. Constant training.
We have a weekly student services meeting, but it's more of updates. I would like that if we had more professional development trainings like this, that maybe we had like in-house where we could all sit and not just be on Zoom and talk about what happened that week. I would like have someone from one of our mental health facilities come in and talk to us about things and not just our curriculum updates or whatever, like actual trainings for all.
I'll say too, and I hate to be talking, but our academic advisors, we readily trained. So probably every few months, And, you know, sometimes it's, we bring our accessibility resource office in and they give tips on how to work with students, with disabilities. Or, you know, I mean, so we have like, we always constantly are providing some of that. And then David now is a part of Nakata, and so that's been good as well, is to find those regional, national organizations that also provide that professional development. I feel like, you know, we have a ways to go, but we have a lot of things we're doing right.
How does the college evaluate the effectiveness of its customer service efforts and make improvements based on student feedback?
We send out registration surveys, and then graduation surveys that survey the effectiveness of the advising center, the registrar, financial aid, anything they may have used in any of that process. Right now, our numbers are actually really good, but in years past, when it hasn't been, then they've taken those numbers, that feedback, and changed the way some of our processes work. So, I'm fairly new, so I don't know what our advising model was before, but we do. Is it called? Intrusive advising, is that what we do? We do intrusive advising. So we, as advisors, we're kind of a one-stop shop, even though we have financial aid and everything, but we do start to finish. Like, once they apply, they get an advisor, and that advisor starts them from day one, and they're with them through graduation. They help them with their financial aid, paying their bills, all of that. And they do some of that, like, training and stuff. I lost my train of thought because I thought I was gonna call on everybody, so I don't that. What was the question again?
How does the college evaluate effectiveness of its customer service efforts and make improvements based on student feedback?
And so that's where I was going. So then those advisors, they get a lot of that student feedback, and then we change things based on what they say. So like in some of the surveys, our advising was not great because the students were getting lost. Now, since we're doing the intrusive advising, they have one advisor start to finish. I think the surveys we just got this year, we just did our strategic planning at 99%. The students love having that one person that they can call no matter what. If they're not available, of course, anyone can help them. But like some of your advising models where they have that one advisor their entire Three Rivers experience. If they leave and come back, they normally get that same advisor, even if they've changed programs. So they have that one person that they have.
Their advisor is assigned based on their pathway they were in. So if they change their pathway, their advisor got changed. Like, I've had 10 different advisors in the 3 semesters I've been here. Now, it doesn't matter what your pathway is, the advisor you're assigned, when you put in your application, is your advisor for graduation.
Yeah, we advise on all programs. Even some of them have like a specific one that they have most of their students in, but we learn what those pathways are for all of our students.
I have a question about all your students. I'm sorry, their names just go college. Three Rivers.
Yes.
When you say all your students, is this just credit bearing students or is this workforce development students?
All of them,
Okay, I didn't know,
workforce
I know,
does have
yeah.
its own advisor, but any of the advisors can work with each student.
Even for our external locations, because they may be a Kennett-based student where Haley is their advisor, but they might be on main campus. So then we're gonna advise them too.
Like, I am actually assigned any student who resides in Dublin or Scott County or who's in the business pathway.
Okay.
But I may have a student that attends on the Poplar Bluff campus that's not in the business pathway. Since they were originally assigned to me, they are still mine.
Okay.
Someone else, there, over here.
Oh, I'm Paula Carpenter from Jefferson College. I was just gonna say that, I think the reality of it still is that the biggest, feedback and spotlight we get on customer service is when it is poor customer service and it works its way up to student complaint, you know, to others. And I think that's unfortunately a lot of times when those discussions are had, and sometimes we fail to recognize, because those always get the spotlight, but we fail to recognize those really excellent interactions that folks have on a day-to-day basis when they are just, outstanding. I hear it all the time, from my office, from my team, who are just fantastic at handling, those conversations, but, I think we still need to get to a culture where we're recognizing those just as much as we are focusing in on the student, complaints.
It would be nice to hear the positive instead of only.
Yes.
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 Kind of to piggyback off that, I also feel like it's so important that even if that is a student complaint that's gone up the chain, we have to try to admit if that, I see where this process could change, this might have helped this student not have that barrier. And take that as positive, even though it started out as very negative. Don't hold that and let it bring you down, find a way to make it better and admit that and change it.
One thing that our science and business department does, their navigators, they have their event. They get a survey through Calendly to go over, satisfaction and everything, but then they also have a message box in there that they can kind of type something. And it goes to, the art, science and business, director or student success, and they can meet with the navigators and say, look, you're doing great. This is what your students are showing and saying that they are satisfied with what you're doing so that everyone knows, okay, I'm doing a good job, even if I'm not hearing it. Someone else knows I'm doing a good job. Or, hey, this process needs a little bit of improving, maybe even across the board between all of these people. Let's relook the model. Let's relook, how is the advising going? How can we get to these improvements? And they're looking at doing surveys and other areas as well, so that we can get that feedback of you're doing good, or hey, this area needs a little bit of improvement.
Yes. Yay, Connie, thank you. Just so you know, we are recording, so we're gonna use some of the AI to do our notes for us. So it'll all loop in and be like, hey, this is what they all talked about, right? So we've recorded all the sessions and we'll continue to record the rest, so that way you guys can, I don't know about you, but I usually feverishly write notes, but now with these new resources, I can actually listen, engage in the dialogue, those kind of things. So that will be all sent to you after the session, but next up we have efficiency-based practice. David, come on up. And your surprise, thank you very much. Okay.
Thanks. All right, so,